Objection. I can't specifically recall that. I don't know, but he has to agree with me because it didn't happen. Can Jeffrey Epstein, would he be able to confirm or deny whether he had sex with underage girls? Objection. I can't testify to what Jeffrey would say. Can Jeffrey confirm or deny whether blank was on Jeffrey's island? Objection. I can't say what Jeffrey would say. I can only say what I know to be true. Has Jeffrey talked to you about the fact whether blank was on his island? As best as I can recollect, he said he was not on the island, as best as I can recollect. Can Jeffrey Epstein confirm whether he and Virginia Roberts were together in the presence of blank? Objection. I can't speak to what Jeffrey would say. Has he talked to you about Virginia Roberts' statement that she was in the presence of blank? Objection. I have not discussed individual presences with Virginia. I'm only concerned with what I know to be the stuff about me. So my focus has always been the lies and the obvious lies as something I can personally attest to. I cannot possibly talk for anything else. Has Jeffrey Epstein said to you anything along the lines of Virginia is lying when she says she met blank? Objection. Again, I'm not talking about what she says as regards to other people. I can talk to things as regards to me. I'm asking if Jeffrey ever said that to you. I don't recollect specific conversations along those things. You don't recollect him saying that to you? I don't recollect him saying to me that Virginia didn't meet blank. I'm sure that wouldn't be a conversation that we would have. It doesn't affect me so I'm really only concerned about the lies that were told as regards to me. Can Jeffrey Epstein confirm or deny whether you sent Virginia to give blank a massage? Objection. I can't say what Jeffrey would say. I can tell you I didn't. I can't tell you what anybody else. Discussed with Virginia's allegation that she gave blank a massage? Objection. I didn't know that she did say that. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein has ever sent anybody to blank to perform a massage for him? Objection. I couldn't possibly recollect whether he did anything like that. Did you ever send anybody, not Virginia, anybody else, over to blank's home for a massage? Not to the best of my knowledge. Do you know one of blank blank, friend by the name of blank blank? I do recollect a person of that name. How do you know her? I don't recollect. Did you meet her through Jeffrey? I don't recollect. Do you recall when you met her? I do not recollect. How many times have you seen blank blank in your life? The only reason I remember is because it's an unusual name, but I couldn't tell you anything else. You didn't see her on a regular basis. She wasn't one of your friends. No. Was blank a masseuse? Not to my knowledge. Do you have knowledge of whether she had a sexual relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? I have no knowledge of that. When was the last time you spoke with her? A very long, I have no idea. Would it be years? Yes. What do you remember about blank blank? Nothing really. Do you remember what she looks like? I would just be speculating on how I remember. I couldn't describe her. Do you recall travelling with her? I don't. Did you ever go to her home? I don't believe I did. Do you know where she lives? I don't. Would you have met her through Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. I already testified I don't recollect how I met her, and I remember her because her name is very unusual. So what recollection do you have of her? Do you have a specific recollection of meeting her somewhere? You just don't know when? That was, or how do you know that name, blank? Objection. I don't know why the name is. I'm sorry, I have no idea. I recognise the name, but that's it. Was blank a masseuse? Objection. What are you asking me? I'm sorry. When blank worked for Jeffrey Epstein, did she perform massages? I've testified that when blank came originally, she came to answer telephones. I believe at some point she became a masseuse. I don't recollect when, and I personally had massages from blank. What did blank do for Jeffrey Epstein? Did she perform massages? Anything else? Objection. When she came, she answered phones, and at some point, I don't have any firm recollection, but I believe she went to school and became a masseuse, and I had massages from her. Did you ever have any sexual interaction with her? Objection. And I'm going to instruct you, if we're talking about any consensual adult contact, you are not allowed to answer the question. Did you have any sexual contact with her in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein? Same instruction. Did you have any sexual contact with her in the presence of anybody other than Jeffrey Epstein? Same instruction. How many massages did you receive from blank? I really don't recall, but a fair amount. Did the massages involve sex? Mr. P, I'm going to instruct you not to answer. Have you ever engaged in sex with any female? Mr. P, I'm going to instruct you not to answer. Miss Macaulay, I want the record to reflect that Miss Maxwell's attorney is directing her not to answer this series of questions. Mr. P, it definitely does. Were you responsible for introducing blank to Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. I already testified that I don't really recall blank. Were you responsible for introducing blank to Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. Again, I don't like the characterisation of introduction. Blank came to answer telephones. Were you the person who bought or introduced or met blank for purposes of bringing her to Jeffrey Epstein's home? Objection. That's not how I would characterise that. How would you characterise it? I have testified that I'm responsible for finding professional people to work in the homes, age-appropriate adult people, so from pool attendants to gardeners to chefs to housekeepers to butlers to chauffeurs, and one of the functions was to be able to answer the telephones. And in the context of finding someone to answer the telephones, I did look to try to find appropriate people to answer the phones. So did you find Joanna for purposes of that role? So in the course of looking for somebody to answer phones at the house, Joanna was one of the people who said that she was willing to answer phones. Did you approach her at her school campus? Objection. I honestly don't recall how, in that moment, how I met blank and how she came to get the job, but did you typically, in your work for Jeffrey Epstein, would you typically go to school campuses to try to find individuals to work for Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. What do you mean by school? Let's characterise school. Any kind of school. Obviously not. I never went to any school with young people. Blank, I believe, came from an adult university, as I would know in England. So university, I went there, but I never went, as I best recollect, anywhere else. What university was it that you went to? I don't recall the university that she went to right now. Would you visit more than one university to try to find individuals to work for Jeffrey Epstein? As I recollect, I think that's in fact the only university I went to. Did you go there more than once? I think I went twice. Who else did you find from that university? Was there anybody other than blank? I don't recollect, I'm sorry. We are going to mark this as Maxwell 13. Maxwell Exhibit 13, documents marked for identification. Can you take a look at the document I put in front of you, please? Are you familiar with this document? I'm familiar with this actual document. How was this document created? Objection. I don't know how this document was created. You were involved in the creation of this document. I think you can see from the date that it's 2004, 2005, so no. You weren't involved in the creation of this document. We talked earlier about Mr. Epstein's house. I'm talking about the Palm Beach house, where you said there was a computer on the desk that employees had access to. People who worked for Jeffrey Epstein may have had access to. I think anybody could have had access to that. Was that computer used, if you know, to keep a log of addresses and phone contact information for Jeffrey Epstein? Are we talking about when this document was created? In general, was there, on that computer during the time that you were present with Jeffrey Epstein, was there a mechanism by which you kept electronic information of names and addresses of individuals that he knew? Objection. I can't testify to what was on that computer or not after I was gone. Not when you were gone, when you were there. If Jeffrey wanted to call, for example, say blank, would someone be able to go to that computer to pull up the address information and phone contact information for that individual? Objection. I couldn't possibly say. Did you ever have to keep track of address or phone contact information for Jeffrey Epstein? That was not my job. Did you ever do it? I'm not responsible for keeping his numbers, so that wasn't my job at all. But did you ever do it? I know it's not your job, but did you ever do it? Did you ever keep phone contact information for him? During the course of the time we were together, if he gave me a telephone number, I would give it to an assistant to put it in the computer. I could do that. Would he ask you for contact information for different individuals if he wanted to contact someone? Objection. In the course of the long period of time when I was there, it certainly would be possible for him to ask me for a telephone number, and if I had I wouldn't always have it. I'm sure it happened. Was there a hard copy book in addition to the computer? A hard copy book that you could look for numbers that were relevant to Jeffrey Epstein's life and something on the computer, or was it just an electronic version? Objection. Was there a hard copy book as well as something on the computer, or was there only electronic information on the phone numbers? Objection. I can only testify to what I know, obviously, and I believe that this is a copy of a stolen document. I would love to know how you guys got it. I'm asking, during the time you worked for Jeffrey Epstein, was there a hard copy document of any kind that kept phone numbers for Jeffrey Epstein if he needed to contact someone? The stolen document I have in front of me that you have is what you are referring to. So there was, during your time when you were there, there was no other, you mentioned there was information on a computer. Was there any hard copy document that you could refer to find someone's number? You have the stolen document in front of you. You had access to this when you worked for Jeffrey Epstein? This is, I believe, the book that was stolen. That was the hard copy of whatever was there. So when you were working for Jeffrey Epstein, you were able to access this book. This book, if this is what this is, I believe it was, this is the stolen document from his house. And you were able to access it when you worked for him. It was a document that was printed that you could, if you needed to, look for a number. Do you know how this book was created? No. When you referred to it a moment ago, to a stolen document, when blank blank turned this document over to the FBI, are you aware he described it as a document that came from your computer? Objection. I have no idea what he said or didn't say, so if you want me to reference something he said, you need to show it to me. Did you keep this document, an electronic copy of it, on your personal computer? I don't recollect. If you had to update something, for example, if there was a new number, a new individual that Jeffrey had hired that you were going to track, would you input that information into this document on your computer? Objection. I've already testified that I'm not responsible for updating and keeping these records. Did you have this document on your computer, your personal computer? I told you, I don't recollect having this document on my computer. Do you know what computers this document was on, if more than one? I'm sorry, this is a long time ago, and I don't recall exactly how this was all managed. If you didn't create this document, do you know who did? Objection. I don't. I'm going to direct your attention to part of this document. It's towards the back. It's going to be page 91, and it has Bates's label, Guilford 001663. I'm going to direct your attention to the section that says Massage Florida. Did you input any of the names or numbers under that section? Objection. So this document is produced in 2004-2005, so no. But I'm sorry, correct me if I'm misunderstanding your testimony. I thought you said when you were working with Jeffrey that this document existed and it was something you utilised. I can't possibly tell you what numbers were added or not added subsequent to my departure. So you can't recall if you added any of these numbers? Objection mischaracterises the witness's testimony. Are there any numbers on here or names that you recognise that you would have entered into this section? I have already testified that I'm not responsible for inputting numbers and names into this, so I would not be able to tell you. Are there any names or numbers under this section, Massage Florida, that you would have provided to an assistant to input into this document? I can't possibly say. Do you see under Massage Florida, about halfway down the first column, do you see a number that says blank cell? Mr. P, what page? It's 91, Bates's number 001663, about halfway down. It says, in the first column, it says blank cell. Do you see that? I do. Would you have provided after, I know you didn't hire her, Jeffrey hired her, but after you brought her to Jeffrey, would you have given her cell phone number to an assistant to input into this document? Objection. I didn't bring her to Jeffrey the way you characterise, and I would have no knowledge of how this number ended up in this book. I believe you, and I will try to use your words so we are clear. You met blank, is that correct? Yes. And then she began working for Jeffrey? Yes. Would you have provided whomever was in charge of keeping this updated with blank cell number so you would be able to contact her if needed? Objection. I don't know. It could have been a number of different ways. It could have been Jeffrey who gave it to somebody. You just don't remember doing that? I do not. Now, as you look, I want you to take a look at the Florida massage list. It's 3 columns there. Do you, as you look at those names on the various columns, do you know the ages of any of the girls in this list? I don't know. 1, I don't know who all the people are on this list, and I certainly don't know the ages. Do you know what their qualifications are? I don't know who the people are in general, so of course I don't know what their qualifications are. Do you know why Jeffrey has so many masseuses listed in Florida in his book here? Objection. Again, this book was created post my departure, so I couldn't explain why all these people were here. When you were there, you said this book existed. Yes. So, when you were there, was there a number of masseuses listed under the Florida massage? Objection. Mischaracterization of the witness's testimony. I'm asking you a question. When you were there a number of masseuses listed under the Florida massage section? When I was there, I would have, of course, there would have been some masseuses listed, but I could not tell you who or how many, and this I could not possibly because I wouldn't remember. Do you know why Jeffrey would have had so many names listed under his massage Florida? Objection. I can't testify to why Jeffrey has so many. Did he use a different masseuse every day? Objection. You can answer. When I was there, he had a massage roughly every day, one masseuse, and mostly he would have them at random times. So it would be difficult if you just only had one person, man, woman, for an adult massage to come and be available for whatever time it was. So he would have more than one person that he could call for a massage because at any given time, the one that he called first may not have been available. So would it typically be a different person each day that would give him a massage? Objection. It would be, when I was there, based on availability. Would it surprise you to learn that the federal government found that some of the girls on this list under Massage Florida were under the age of 18? Objection. I can't testify to what the government found or did not find because I would have no knowledge of it. I'm asking if you would be surprised by that. Objection. I have knowledge of it. I can't speculate. On the second column towards the bottom, there is the name. It's one up from the bottom. There is the name blank. Do you know blank? I do. Who is she? She was a friend of Jeffrey's. Is she a masseuse? I don't think she was a masseuse, no. Why would she be listed under Florida massages? An input error? Is this list any individual that would have sex with Jeffrey? Objection. I wouldn't have any knowledge of that. Do you know if Jeffrey had sex with blank? Objection. First of all, I wouldn't have any knowledge of that. Miss Macaulay, we are going to take a quick break. Videographer, it's now 4:39 and we are off the record. Recess. Videographer, it's now 4:54 and we are back on the record, starting disc number 8. Ms. Maxwell, we were talking earlier about the journal, and I believe you said in 2004-2005 you were no longer working and responsible for that journal. Is that correct? Objection. What are we referring to? This document right here? Yes. I don't know who is the author of this, or I can't tell you what is in here versus what would have been in here when I was around. I can't testify to that. Were you around in 2004-2005? I already testified that I was there when Jeffrey's mother passed away, and so you know, I did visit for her passing, and I believe I was there for a couple of days in 2005. So, if an employee of Mr. Epstein in 2004 said that you were the employee's direct supervisor, would that be incorrect? Objection. What employee, what's the circumstances, and what is the story? I don't know what you are asking me. If blank said in 2004 when he was hired, you were his direct supervisor, would that be true? No. Were you in 2004 supervising blank blank? Objection. I never supervised blank. Did blank take orders from you? Objection. She worked for Jeffrey. If blank said you had knowledge of underage girls coming to Jeffrey's home for the purpose of sex, would you contend that this is truthful? Objection. I have no idea what you are talking about, I'm sorry. If blank said that you have knowledge of underage girls coming to Jeffrey's home for the purpose of having massages involving sex, would you say that that statement is truthful? Objection. I can't testify to what blank said or didn't say. I'm saying, if blank said that you had knowledge that there were girls coming over to the house that were underage for the purposes of sex, would that statement be true? Objection. I can't testify to what blank said or didn't say, or what he thought. Did you have knowledge of underage girls coming to Jeffrey Epstein's house for the purpose of sex? No. Earlier, I believe you testified, correct me if I'm wrong, that the document that is in front of you, the thicker document, was a stolen document. Do you know who stole that document? I have read that blank stole the document. And where have you read that? I believe it was reported in the press. Earlier, we were talking about the computers at Jeffrey Epstein's home. Did you have a computer that was your computer located in Jeffrey Epstein's home? Objection. I've testified to the computer already. Even when I was around, there was a computer that people had access to. So is blank telling the truth when he says that he downloaded that book from your computer? Objection. I couldn't possibly tell you what blank did or didn't do, or said or didn't say. Was it on your computer? I already testified I have no idea where this document came from. Did you have a list of names of individuals with contact information for Jeffrey Epstein on your personal computer? Again, that wasn't my computer. I already said that was a computer that lots of people would have, so I have no recollection of this document being on it, so I don't know where this came from. I understand the computer at the house that you're referencing. On a personal computer of yours, did you have that document? I don't know where this document came from, so I can't possibly say this document was on any computer that I may have had access to. On a personal computer of your own, did you have lists of the phone numbers and contact information relating to Jeffrey Epstein? Like everybody, I have an address book, but I can't possibly testify to where this thing came from. Was it your address book, or was it addresses that related to Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. I don't know what you're asking me. On your personal computer, the address book you are referencing, was it your address book with individuals you knew, or was it an address book for your employer, Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey has his situation, and I have no... This is Jeffrey's. It came from his home, so I can't testify to anything about this in that period of time. So you didn't have on your computer a list of contact information for individuals that was related to Jeffrey Epstein? I don't recall exactly what I had back in 2004 and 2005, so I can't say what I had back then. That relates to his addresses. I can't recall. So, is it possible that someone could have downloaded from your personal computer a list of names and address that were affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. This didn't come from any computer of mine. But is it possible that someone could have downloaded a list of names and addresses affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein from your computer? Objection. I already said I didn't have a computer there, so I don't know where this came from. I have no idea. I'm going to read you to some testimony from blank Deposition, and it's on page 370, and I want to ask you a question about it, if it's true or false. Mr. P, I'm going to object unless you show the witness the document. Ms. Macaulay, I will pass it. We are not going to mark it. We will skip it. Did you ever tell blank that he better watch out and better keep his mouth shut with respect to what occurred at Mr. Epstein's home? Objection. It doesn't sound like anything that I would say. Did you ever threaten blank blank in any way if he were to disclose information he learned from his employment with Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. I'm happy to answer, no, I never threatened him in any way. Were you concerned that he was going to disclose that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking underage girls? Objection. First of all, there are so many things wrong with that question, but I have no knowledge of what you are talking about. Have you ever contacted or instructed anyone to contact any witness in this case for the purposes of threatening them not to testify in this case? Objection. I have never called anybody with a reference to this case with anything you just mentioned. I never threatened anyone. Have you ever directed anyone to call any witnesses relevant to this case and threaten them not to testify? Objection. I never done such a thing. Did Jeffrey Epstein or you ever ask any female, regardless of age, to carry Jeffrey's baby for him? Objection. Or anything along those lines? Objection. Can you repeat the question, please? Did you or Jeffrey Epstein ever ask any female, regardless of age, to carry Jeffrey Epstein's baby for him? Objection. Are you asking to become pregnant? Did you or Jeffrey Epstein ever ask any female to become pregnant and carry Jeffrey Epstein's baby for you or for Jeffrey? Objection. You need to be very specific. I have no idea what you are talking about. That's completely rubbish. Did you or Jeffrey Epstein ask any female to become pregnant and carry his baby for either him or you? Objection. Go ahead. I can't testify to anything Jeffrey did or didn't do when I am not present, but I have never asked anybody to carry a baby for me. Or anything along those lines? Objection. I want to make sure we are talking about the same thing. Not physically carry a baby, I mean become pregnant with a baby. Objection. I want to make sure we are clear. I don't know what you are asking. That's why I want to make sure we are clear. We are clear. I never asked anybody to carry a baby for me. Do you know if Jeffrey ever asked anybody to carry a baby for him? I'm not going to characterise any conversation Jeffrey had with somebody else. You are not aware of that. Is that your testimony? I am testifying I never have, and I will not testify for anything for Jeffrey. Did you ever hear Jeffrey ask anybody to carry a baby for him? I don't recollect conversation about Jeffrey and babies in any form. Did Jeffrey ever tell he wanted to have a baby? I don't recollect baby conversations with Jeffrey. So he never told you he wanted to have a baby? I don't recollect any baby conversations with him saying he wanted to have a baby. Did you ever bring any females to the blank house that were not your friend's children that were under the age of 18? Objection. I have never, to my knowledge, brought anybody under the age of 18 that's not a friend of my family or my nieces or nephews to the blank household. Earlier today you testified, I believe, that with respect to your townhome, Jeffrey paid for some of that and then gave you a loan. Is that correct? Objection. I said, actually, I think it was a loan. I believe it was a loan. The whole thing? As best as I can recollect. Did you pay that loan back? I don't have any outstanding loans with him. So you paid it back? I don't have any outstanding loans with him. That's not an answer to my question. Did you pay back Jeffrey for the loans? I have paid back any loans I had with him. You have or haven't? Have. Were there any other gifts that Jeffrey gave you during the time period of, say, 1999 to the present that were in excess of $50,000? Objection. What's the question again? Did Jeffrey give you any gifts in excess of amounts of $50,000? I'm not talking about a scarf here. Or something insignificant. From 1999 to the present. I can't recollect any gifts. Did he ever buy you a car? I really don't recall. I can't recall, it's a long time ago. You can't recall if Jeffrey Epstein ever bought you a car? I believe he did buy me a car. I don't recall how much it cost. I don't recall any of the financial details of that. Do you still have that car? I don't. How long ago did you get rid of that car? I don't recall all the cars. There was a car back. I don't recall, I'm sorry. He supplied you with several cars. Objection. Mischaracterization of the testimony. I don't recall details of the cars. Did he supply with you more than one car? Over the course of time, I've driven many cars that Jeffrey provided to you. They were cars that could be driven and I just don't recall them. Were they in your name? I don't recall. You don't recall if Jeffrey Epstein ever put a car in your name? We are talking a long time ago. I really don't recall. When is the last time you had a car from Jeffrey Epstein that you used? 2000, 2001, 2002? Do you recall what kind of car that was? I don't recall, I'm sorry. Did Jeffrey Epstein purchase anything else for you besides the townhouse and cars that would be over the amount of $50,000? I didn't say that he did, I said I had a loan. Besides the loan, I'm sorry, you are right. You did say you had a loan, and you said you paid that back, correct? That's my testimony. Anything else in excess of $50,000 that he would have purchased for you? We are talking 2002, 2001. I don't recall any gifts, really. When is the last time Jeffrey Epstein gave you a gift in excess of $50,000? Mr. P assumes facts not in evidence. You're saying you don't remember from 2001 and 2002. I'm asking, when is the last time you remember Jeffrey Epstein purchasing a gift for you? I don't recall gifts in excess of $50,000. I barely recall gifts. I barely recall a lot of this. I'm sorry, I don't recall. Is Jeffrey Epstein paying for your legal fees in this case? No. Is he paying for anything related to this case? No. Are you aware of any grand theft police report relating to Virginia Roberts? I believe I've read a report in the press on that. Did you provide the press with a report on a grand theft by Virginia Roberts? I don't know how the press got that story. Do you know if Virginia Roberts committed a grand theft? I only know what I read in the press. Did you ever state to the press that Virginia Roberts committed a grand theft? I've never had any conversation directly with press. Did any of your representatives ever inform the press that Virginia Roberts committed a grand theft? Objection. I have no way of knowing what my representative said to press or didn't. Did they ever discuss with you the fact that they were going to report that Virginia Roberts participated in a grand theft? I don't know how. First of all, I don't know how I know that. I believe I read it in a press report, so I'm going to mark this as Composite Exhibit Maxwell 14, please. Maxwell Exhibit 14, email marked for identification. I'm going to direct you to the page GM00109. At the top of that page, you are going to see an email address from Jeffrey Epstein on Sunday, June the 12th, 2011 to blank blank. Yes? The reline says, "This is the actual version they wanted me to send, which I changed, but this is back from my UK lawyers." Do you see that? Yes. If you go down further, you're going to see halfway through the page, you will see your email address, the blank, and you will see a statement that says, "Thank you. I have it now. I'm working on the letter a little. I will send final version tomorrow, and whatever it is in will be factually accurate." Beneath that you will see blank blank, who I believe you identified earlier as one of your attorneys. And you will see a letter, starting the text of a letter starting. I want you to turn to the second page, which is GM00110. About halfway through the page, it says you will also presumably draw attention to the fact that prior to filing her suit against Mr. Epstein, Ms. Roberts fled to the US to avoid being arrested for grand theft. Police report available. What grand theft were you referring to there that Virginia Roberts committed? Objection. I don't know. However, I believe she stole money from somewhere where she worked. How do you know that was grand theft? I don't know how I know that. So you authorised a statement that characterised that as grand theft without knowing whether it was grand theft. What month? What is the date of this? The date of this is June the 12th, 2011. So I'm afraid such a long time ago, I'm not sure how. I really couldn't testify as to how that language ended up in here. Do you have the police report? It says police report available. Do you have that document? I don't have that document. Who does? I have no idea. Would your lawyer blank have that document? I don't know who has this document. What's your basis in that statement for saying Ms. Roberts fled the US? Again, you are asking me for a statement that I made in 2011, and I can't say what in 2011 exactly the basis of that statement was. So you don't know whether or not that statement is true. This is in 2011 and it never went out, so I'm not sure exactly. But you said in your email that you were working to make it factually accurate. Is that correct? That's what it says. I'm going to mark as Maxwell 15, a document dated February the 24th, 2015. Maxwell Exhibit 15, email marked for identification. This is an email from blank who you have identified as your blank on February the 24th, 2015 to blank, which I understand to be your email address, and blank. The subject line says, VR cried rape. Prior case dismissed as prosecutors found her not credible. The message says, Ghislaine, some helpful leakage, ... What is it you are leaking to the press? Objection. There is no foundation that she leaked anything, and you know that. What was it that you were leaking to the press in that statement? Again, I don't think that's referring to that. That's just referring to the press getting hold of whatever story it is. What was blank leaking to the press? Objection. It doesn't say blank was leaking anything. It doesn't say that. The statement says helpful leakage. Is that correct? It says helpful leakage. That doesn't mean he leaked anything. Did you leak to the press information about the subject line, VR cried rape, prior case dismissed as prosecutors found her not credible? I don't know idea what blank is referring to. I think he is referring to the press held the story. I couldn't testify to that. Did you leak to the press information regarding the statement, VR cried rape, prior case dismissed as prosecutors found her not credible, either through you or through blank? I think this is coming from the Daily Mail. That is not my question. I'm asking whether you or blank leaked that. I have no knowledge. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I have no recollection. I have no idea what she is talking about. I'm going to mark this as 16. Maxwell, Exhibit 16, email marked for identification. This is an email addressed at the top from Jeffrey Epstein on Monday, January the 12th, 2015 to blank, which I understand to be your email address. The email reads, you can issue a reward to any of Virginia's friends, acquaintance, family that come forward to help prove her allegations are false. The strongest is the blank dinner and the new version of the Virgin Islands that blank practiced in an underage orgy. Did you offer any rewards to Virginia's family or friends to contradict Virginia's story? Absolutely not. Did Jeffrey Epstein offer any rewards to any of Virginia's, as he suggests here, friends, family or acquaintances to contradict Virginia's story? Objection. I have no idea what he did. Did he tell he was going to offer rewards to Virginia's acquaintances, friends and family to prove her allegations were false? He did not. Do you know whether Jeffrey Epstein paid blank to give testimony about Virginia Roberts? I don't know who blank is. So you don't know whether Jeffrey Epstein paid her? I don't know who blank is. Have you ever contacted any of Virginia's friends, acquaintances or family regarding this case? I don't know who Virginia's friends or family are, and I have not contacted anybody related to her in any way, shape or form.